Now we have it running. Saying hello today on November the 30th, 2010 from North Miami Beach. Here with me is a special expert on this particular place called the Spanish Monastery. I'm talking to Sandra Washington. Nice to meet you, Sandra.
Good morning, nice to meet you.
Thank you for taking me around. And let me show around a little bit where we are today. Where are we headed?
At the gates, we're going to head straight through, and before we begin, I'll tell you a little something about what you're seeing now, which are the opening gates of the ancient Spanish monastery before we enter into the cloisters. And here what you see is a plaque here that says these sacred Cistercian walls in the year of 1141. It's the only piece that is left from what was originally a wall that surrounded the whole monastery.
Oh, really?
So,
now, I doubt that there was a monastery in 1148 in Florida, so I assume this monastery came from Segovia, Spain. Okay.
Segovia, Spain, and this is what's left of it. But before we get too much ahead, we're going to learn a little bit about how it got here in the first place. And it was really because of William Hearst, who's wonderful about going about and sending his art agents throughout the world to look at historic pieces.
Is he the publisher, the head of the publisher?
Yes, William Hearst, the famous publishing magnate.
Okay.
He used to go around different places and send out his art agents to look for different places so that he can bring back to the Americas. And the intentions was to bring back this monastery and put it behind his San Simeon castle in California as a tourist attraction.
Isn't that interesting?
This was the reason for that. But as fate would have it, he just didn't turn out that way for him. So this was in Segovia, Spain. We're going to walk through a little bit as we're talking. This monastery, the cloisters, was in Segovia, Spain.
I was just there this year, actually, in Segovia. Yeah, it's a beautiful city,
So you'll recognize the church. When we come back through, I'll show you a picture of the church that you probably visited. Huge, and it's a portion of where this came from, these cloisters.
Oh, really?
He wasn't permitted to buy the whole thing. Only the cloisters that you're about to see.
Interesting?
And it has such an interesting, interesting history. So the art agents saw this, and the reason why they were able to buy it, because after it was built and went through a lot of hands in 1830, in Spain they had a social revolution, and it was taken by the government. The government eventually sold it to a farmer. And it is because of that farmer that we still are able to have this in good condition, the cloisters here. He used it as a barn and several things, really for storage.
I cannot believe that. A monastery being used as a barn.
And this is what saved it, though. This is what saved it and helped to keep it restored and in good condition to transfer it over. So he brought it, and it was not easy for him to buy. Originally, yes, they wanted the money, and sure, they took it, but then other villagers and people felt, well, this is such an important part of our history, we really didn't want to give it up. So at some point he had to stop and make negotiations and you know, speak with people and try to win them over and let them know how he's going to use it. They questioned him a great deal, but eventually he won them over, and he had to buy it.
Now, when did all this happen that William Hearst bought the monastery and brought it over?
In 1925.
Okay.
Okay, and then he went to buy it over. But before I start, I know you're filming this over here, so I want to show
absolutely,
you this is a plaque that represents the states at that time, the provinces in Spain of Castile and Leon that are supporting the Catholic Church. So it's the Queen Virgin, Queen of Heaven, Virgin Mary, and this is what that represents.
Very good. Now, before we head inside, we'll do another clip inside, but this is a very interesting story. If people want to do further research about this location, does your organization have a website?
We don't have it that has all the history. That's something that I'm doing now. We're learning a lot more about this. See, this is a historic site, heritage, registered as a heritage site, but not yet really a museum. And this is what we're doing now. So there's a lot of still little mysteries that we're learning
still working on it.
And by a process of elimination, as to the two businessmen that I'll tell you about in a moment that brought this over, what exactly was brought over that William Hearst had brought originally, and what were other items that they collected? You see, what was on that ship? As you know, William Hearst, he held on to it, and when this was brought over over to the Americas. There was the Great Depression. He was trying to hold on to his newspaper, so this was kind of put
interesting
aside.
story. Yeah.
Then the Ohio businessman made a motion to try to buy it, and they tried for many years. He wouldn't do it. He said, "Oh, my dead body." He wouldn't sell it unless he died. And then eventually, the businessman went back and approached the family, the Hearst Foundation, and had to win them over as well. Had to explain to them what would they use it for what purposes, and so on. So
cool.
Very interesting.
Let's head inside and grab that in another clip. Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.